Hello, and welcome to a Mixed Systems episode of the Drywall Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Harmon. With us today, Danny Carrillo, right from here in Albuquerque. Danny and I quickly jump into the deep end talking about ice baths, but Danny is the quintessential expert when it comes to various plaster mediums for both interiors and exteriors. We discuss his journey into the plaster industry, becoming general manager of El Presidio Plastering, and eventually taking over the company. His career may have paused, though, when he lost $1 million. So you had three companies that, for whatever reason, didn't pay. You didn't get paid, and you lost $1 million, and that just crippled you.
It crippled me. So, I didn't file bankruptcy. I did the best to pay off everything I could, and people didn't hound me because I pay my bills for 30 years.
You're a good guy.
Well,
you're a good guy.
I don't know about that, but I paid my bills for 30 years. Yeah. They had made money, so it kind of just went away. So I'm sitting there. I had to close it down, let everybody go, finish the jobs up, and sitting there looking out in my yard, and I got all this scaffold, all these pumps. I'm like, Jesus, this is what I do. So Danny has
a moment of reflection after losing $1 million. I'm sitting here looking at my empire that's crumbled to the ground, and I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do? Danny and I have known each other for a long time, but I feel like this interview solidified our friendship. We talk about his 28-page book entitled How to Hire a Contractor, his ability to fly airplanes, and his current company, ArmourTone Finishes, all crammed into this amazing 1-hour podcast. Shout out to Can-Am Tools for sponsoring the Drywall Podcast in the month of November. This is the third month that Can-Am has sponsored us, and we appreciate them for that. This is no ordinary month of sponsorship. We'll be giving out some amazing Can-Am tools after every single episode in the month of November. Head on over to our Instagram page and like the Drywall Podcast page, and then be on the lookout for posts mentioning this particular giveaway and follow the instructions. We'll be asking you to tag a friend and also mention in the comments what you enjoy about the podcast. This week, we will be giving away, after this podcast airs, a Nicor painter and contractor's kit, some awesome 3-ways, and also another hat. Head over to Instagram for details. Tune in to the Drywall Podcast every Friday for new, exciting episodes we have with drywall professionals and professionals in the industry just like you. But for now, Danny Carrillo from ArmourTone Finishes, and also from right here in Albuquerque on the 71st episode of the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it. Today is opposite. Tuesday here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, with Danny Carrillo of ArmourTone Finishes on the Drywall Podcast. Welcome.
Thanks.
A special live episode of the Drywall Podcast. We haven't done too many of these. Background story about Danny. I met you at L&W. You were giving a presentation on one of your spray systems at L&W. We struck up a conversation, and we started talking about things that should not be named on this podcast. And I liked you instantly. One of them being ice baths. You were I don't know if you had done ice baths.
No, I haven't done ice baths, but I take a cold shower every morning. I jump in, turn on the water full blast, both hot and cold, and I sit in there for 45 seconds till it warms up. Okay. It's kind of a mini ice bath. Not what you're doing. So Nick took me out to one of his ice baths up in the mountain last winter, and broke the ice on the pool, and we jump in, and it was supposed to be 4 minutes. I think I lasted about 2.5, and it's no joke. And this guy does this every day.
I do still do them every day. I have a little pool at my house now, and one of the recent benefits of the ice bath, I went to get my eyes because I busted my glasses during a soccer game. And one thing I do when I'm sitting in the bath is I put my face in the water for periods of time. Like I'll close my eyes and hold my breath and put my face in the water throughout the ice bath. And the optometrist who was looking at my eyes in my recent visit, my vision had gotten better. And I was like, could that have been from the ice bath? And she does cryotherapy.
Okay.
And she's like, absolutely, because it stimulates the blood vessels, and you have all these blood vessels in your eyes.
So I'm blind in one eye from an injury. Will it help me out?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Right. But it might make your other eye better. And there's a plethora of other health benefits to doing the ice bath. The end result being that I do ice baths because I'm just called to. They are very hard. Just hyper beneficial. They're really cool. I don't know, I don't think they're for everybody, but I think if you do an ice bath and you really like it, you should look into it. Do it at a friend's house or get used to it. A good way that Wim Hof talks about is doing a 30 seconds in the shower. That is extremely beneficial, by the way. If you do that daily, extremely beneficial. So that's a really good starting point.
Well, I feel like it jump starts me in the morning.
Yeah.
You can put a little cold water on your face, that kind of wakes you up. But if you actually immerse yourself in the cold water, it jump starts you. And I've done the cryogenics, and that isn't as hard as the ice bath. The ice bath is no joke. I mean, it'll take your breath. That's what it did with me. It virtually took my breath away.
I don't think people know what they're getting into, and I think if you would have waited, it would have been different. But Danny jumped right in. He was excited about it. But if you're with somebody and you watch them do it, it takes away it's like, oh, they're doing it, I can do it. Type of element to it. But they're tough. I don't think people realize it's a mental as well as a physical workout, really, for 4 minutes. But whatever. I didn't have Danny on the show to talk about ice baths, although I do love the topic. We were outside of L&W here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Danny, you live in Albuquerque currently?
Yeah, I'm from Tucson, but I came to college out in New Mexico and been here pretty much ever since.
Okay, college.
The
hell? No, we don't have educated people on the podcast.
I'm sorry. Sure you do.
We're going to have to cut this short.
Sure you do. There are a lot of educated people out there that choose not to work in the profession that they went to school for.
Right.
And that happens to be me. So
yes. Okay. And so what did you study at school, just out of curiosity?
So I'm a petroleum engineer by schooling.
Weird.
Drilling engineer, which I actually did for a few years out of college.
Drilling engineer. What did you want to do with that type of degree?
Well, I knew I wanted to be an engineer, and at the time, in high school, you say, okay, what's the highest paying engineer? So I picked petroleum.
Okay.
It was only a state over in New Mexico.
Okay.
So it was fairly close to home, but I was still away for college. And ended up in a little town called Socorro, New Mexico, 5,000 people. Yeah,
just south of Albuquerque, if you look at it on a map. So petroleum engineering. So you did petroleum engineering for a short period of time.
Yeah.
Did you make good money?
It was great money, about 3 years. But the calling, back to the plastering, I started plastering or as a laborer at 15 years old in the summers.
Oh, okay. So
feeding a Tommy gun.
You had plaster knowledge prior to going to college.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so
was your dad like a plaster guy?
No,
just
jumped on. A high school buddy of mine, Louis Robinson, got this job with a neighbor, and one summer, and the next summer I joined him.
Okay.
And the rest is kind of history. Been in it ever since. Started feeding a Tommy gun at 15, which is basically shoveling a semi-load of sand and a few pallets of material by yourself into a mixer all day long, while the machine just sucks it down as fast as you can mix it. So it's
plastering. And so, what type of plastering does this particular type of plastering have a name?
It's stucco, basically exterior stucco.
It's exterior stucco.
So it's a big trailer pump.
Okay.
With a lot of pressure. They're no joke. They'll hurt you if you're not careful with them. And we're pumping up. I pumped up as high as 10, 12 stories.
Okay, and to give a little bit of background, Danny is an expert with spray and different system type processes, which is going to be interesting to our drywall community, hopefully. It's interesting to me. You're still working with mediums. We'll get back to the story. How familiar are you with drywall? Like your standard nuts and bolts, hang finish, texture, like that. Where are we at there? Have you done a lot of it? Don't know too much about it. It's fine.
So I haven't done a ton of it, but being a contractor for 30 years, you're around it all the time.
Yeah.
And then in our area, in Santa Fe and Albuquerque, we do a lot of interior plaster. So there's a lot of mixed systems that utilize drywall as a base and then plaster as topping, and or complete plaster system inside. Okay. So they kind of meld together. I work with a lot of drywall contractors, and in the realm that I'm in now, work with quite a few drywall contractors. So I'm very familiar with the levels and the systems and whatnot.
Okay, yeah. Cool. Because this is the Drywall Podcast, and we want to vet everybody that comes on here. We don't want any fake wannabe drywallers on the show. And you're marketing to drywall dudes a little bit with ArmourTone, and we'll get into that a little later. Yeah,
that's primarily our audience. Although it's plasters and drywallers.
Wait a second, there's still plasters in?
There are still plasters, believe it or not. They're getting old.
These little dinosaurs walking around. They're all crippled.
I think the average age of a union plasterer is in the late 40s or early 50s, which means for every young guy, you got a guy in his 70s. Yeah. Which is kind of scary. So they're losing the trade, but the unions are doing a great job of bringing young guys in. Okay. But it is a dying art.
There's still a union plastering division, like Plasters Union.
Correct. There is, and it's not as prolific in some areas as it is in others. Some areas it's all.
I remember when I was in the union up in Portland, Oregon, we were doing a job, and there was a couple of dudes that were putting on this material, and I was like, oh, what's that? That's kind of cool. I was this lowly apprentice, 50% apprentice. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I remember the drywall guy specifically saying, those are the real artists, like, the plaster guys. And I was like, oh, interesting. And I just filed that away for later. But there was like two dudes, and they were old dinosaurs back then. And they were like these, like, you see them in the wild. It's like, ooh, what is that animal over there? And it's like, don't talk to those guys. They're plaster guys. They're like, don't bother them in their natural habitat. So going back to the story, you're doing plastering as a young kid. Man.
Yeah, as a kid, summers, high school, and a couple summers in college. Okay. So I'm doing plastering, and end up later in the summers doing the drilling thing in college. Okay. But still, had the plaster background. Sure. Wasn't quite a plaster. Well, I'm still not a plaster. Yeah. I have two brothers who are plasters, and they say I'm not a plasterer.
Right. But most plasterers will say that anyone other than themselves is not a plasterer. That's pretty standard.
Their saying is anybody can do something for 10 minutes and look like a professional.
I like that. And who's your bros?
So I have a brother, Albert Carrillo, my older brother.
And one of the bros is he's like a who's who or something, right?
Yeah, Albert is out in L.A. He is the CEO of the Western Walls and Ceilings Association, which it's a union organization of contractors that work together to, better the industry and keep the union going. It's all union contractors.
Okay, so he can't watch this.
Why
He's too high up.
He'll watch it. You know what? He although when I was at the World of Concrete, he wouldn't help me because he didn't want to ruin his manicure, but he's had mud under his fingernails for a long time.
I like that. A little resin for Brother Albert.
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
I was in the weeds at the World of Concrete, didn't have any help. I do demos there every year. And I said, hey, I got a Tyvek suit. And he says, nah, I ruined my manicure. And he vacated.
Love it. I'll watch, bro. I'll watch, but I watch from my throne up here. So we got Albert in LA, CEO of Western Walls and Ceilings. What's that really quick? Western Walls and Ceilings Association. What is that?
So it's a contract.
WWCA.
Well, Western Walls and Ceilings Contractors Association.
Okay.
So it's drywallers, plasters, anybody building walls and ceilings, basically.
Cool.
All union.
Okay.
And it's a great organization. They get together and they all get along, which is kind of nice, right?
Yeah,
so you
for
get
sure.
competitors that all get in the same room to help the industry. And Albert, having been a plasterer his whole life, and he fits right in.
Yeah,
does well with them.
Yeah, how did he get into that sort of higher echelon of this industry?
So real quick, I got another buddy of ours out of high school into plastering, and then there's Albert's best friend got Albert into it when he was about 19 or 20.
Okay.
So he had gone to college for a little bit, and he said, I want to do something else. So he got into plastering. Then as I moved to New Mexico and opened a plastering company, I grabbed him and I brought him out, and he was my top guy for years out here.
And plus he's well connected as well.
Well, now he is. But then he went to work for Drive It, which is exterior insulation finish system.
I read some of, did you listen to Buck Buchanan's podcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting. Yeah, I started reading his book. I was going to do the entire audio book, and he wanted me to do a different book, but it's about the history of EIFS.
EIFS.
I hear it said so many different ways.
Well, if you say EIFS and you're not a true plaster, you'll get slapped around.
Oh.
Or if you say EIFS.
EIFS.
Yeah, you're not a.
Maybe I was.
You don't say. But anyway, it's called in the industry. It's called EIFS.
EIFS. Okay.
So anyway, so Albert worked for Drive It for 18 years.
Okay.
As an area manager in sales, and he's the kind of guy that could jump on the job, grab tools out of a guy's hand, show him how to do it without getting a drop on his shoes.
Right.
Just a true professional.
Very cool. And then, and not to not to hang out on Albert too long, you have one other brother.
Yeah. So
you guys don't talk about him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have brother Victor, who's 9 years younger. He's actually a fireman in Albuquerque.
Excellent.
He's in Albuquerque. He came out and worked for me too.
All right.
And then he got into the fire department with a bunch of buddies at the age of like 35. So he got in late. But, those guys work two 24-hour shifts. They work 48 hours a week. And so he still plays in the plaster world. Okay. And he helps me out in ArmourTone. And so he's a plaster.
Very cool.
And he still does it.
Okay, so it's like a family affair for you guys. You all stumbled into this sort of trade. You're a cousin or a brother tradesman, plaster versus drywall, but it's all in the walls realm.
So Albert's son Nick, who also worked for me at one point.
Great name.
Nick Carrillo. He's the VP of Albert's organization. So he started feeding the pump in high school as a kid.
Cool.
Just like we all started feeding the pump.
Yeah. And that's important too. Knowing your trade, I think, to push products in this space. I feel like being an expert in your realm is very important. Like, you can't just sort of go shoot from the hip. Me knowing how to do fresco harmony and further, me knowing how to do drywall, being a journeyman drywaller, is hugely beneficial to selling a product. It's almost like a necessary evil to, because people are going to vet you immediately.
Oh yeah, it's almost cheating.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it is almost cheating.
Because you're walking in with the knowledge, and my story is when I walk in and sell either equipment or material to a guy, I say, look, I fed my family doing this for 30 years.
Okay.
So I'm not going to sell you something that's not going to work, number one.
Okay.
Or that I really haven't done or I'm not an expert in. I'm not going to try and sell you something like that.
Right. But they'll know. They know anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When you walk in.
When you jump in, you get
They vet you real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they'll test you. But, I do a lot of training. I sell pumps and then I go train on the pumps nationwide.
Okay.
Because a plaster pump, it's dangerous.
Okay.
It's up to 600 to 2,000 pounds, and it'll hurt you.
Okay.
And so a guy going from hand application to pump application, I want to help those guys out because I can get them through the pitfalls in a day that might take them several weeks to learn, and they might hurt somebody learning.
Okay.
So I train.
Okay.
And it works out.
And you're a salesman. You're a good salesman.
Well.
There's no shame.
That's right.
No shame in it, Danny.
If you know what you're selling,
yeah,
it's easy.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, I think sales more more, I say sales as a badge of honor in that I'm not a snake oil salesman. I don't cold call. I'm not that type of guy. But I think if you believe in what you're doing, it's not sales. You're having conversations, and you're enrolling your customer into what you're talking about by being authentic and believing in what you're selling. That's the key.
And you don't need a script. You don't need to come in with a piece of paper or do a PowerPoint. No. You can just rattle it off the top of your head.
Yeah. And if I was using a script here and I had a list of questions, it wouldn't be as cool of an interview. I think we have to stay on track, but I think the beauty of life and good content on social media is authenticity. In other words, that's what I'm talking about.
Right, having a real conversation with real people.
So going back to the story, you got plaster in your blood, you got plaster in your family. For one reason or another, this industry has enveloped you as a family, and brother Albert is high up, and brother Victor is also, he's done it for years, became a fireman. Shout out to Victor for that. Going back to post-college, now where does Danny go from here? What is your next step? Maybe you're like, do the pump for a little while, and you're like, I'm making good money, but this sucks. I'm going to go back to plaster? Is that what?
Well, so I'm working as a drilling engineer in the industry in South Texas for 3 years. And my buddies from Tucson, who I had worked for, contractors, said, hey, we're going to open an office in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We need somebody to take the test for us, the contractor's test.
Okay.
So I had enough experience under my belt to be able to take the test, so I went and took the test and passed it.
Like to be a certified contractor?
To be a certified plastering contractor.
Okay.
So then I hit them up. I said, now what are you guys going to do? And they said, well, we're going to hire a general manager, and we're going to open up an office out there.
Okay.
And I said, you just hired him?
Yeah.
And they said, what? I said, well,
I don't like drilling.
I love drilling, but the money's good, but I want to live in New Mexico. And I was traveling 7 days on, 7 days off. And,
so you're traveling.
That's eventually going to get you. That 7 days on, 7 days off.
And your peeps are here and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what was the name of that company?
It was called, it started out as El Presidio Enterprises, but then it became Presidio Plastering right away. And it's two contractors, Wayne Sharp and Mike McCullough out of Tucson, got together and created this company. Okay. And so I worked for them as their general manager, started with a mixer and a pickup truck.
Yeah.
And popped onto a Taco Bell that was being framed and got it and went and did it. So, and then it turned out...
And you were doing just interior plaster?
No, this is exterior stucco.
This is exterior stucco.
Exterior stucco.
And you say plaster, and also we just interviewed that plastering girl from Auckland, New Zealand. They call drywall plaster in Auckland. So just to keep it clear for our listeners, plaster is a vague terminology for many different systems. Can be.
Right. It can be interior, exterior, a lot of things.
Okay. Well, you're talking about specifically you're using EIFS, if I dare.
I do use EIFS. I have used a lot of EIFS.
Okay. But you've used different types of stuff.
I've used
Stowe.
I use Stowe, Drive It.
Okay.
The El-Ray, Parex, all the brands. I stayed friends with all of them because they all brought me work when I was a contractor.
Sure. Okay, but no loyalty there. Kind of like drywall. These drywall guys will have loyalty to certain muds. They'll get on with like USG or Hamilton's or whatever, and they will like dig in, and that's the only mud they'll ever use. They're very stubborn. They rarely change from mud to mud, whereas stucco, it seems like maybe you would drift a little more.
Well, some work better than others,
Sure.
No doubt. I had my favorites.
Okay.
But if somebody's going to bring me a job, why wouldn't I use their material?
Oh,
so
interesting.
So
like the stucco companies, they're more invested in bringing the contractor work to sell the product.
They're interested in selling product, and if they get a closed spec on something that they're the only ones listed in the specification on a job, then they're gonna. And if they gave it to me, we did everything by the book. We did everything by the book. If it's wintertime, we're wrapping and heating. We're adding admixtures to our material so it doesn't freeze. So, we're trying to do everything right.
Okay.
So a manufacturer bring it to me. Number one, I never dickered on price. If you bring me a job, you charge me whatever you want for it, because let's all make some money, right?
Okay.
And then you're bringing me this job that I didn't already have.
Smart.
So charge me whatever. I'm not going to beat you up on price, and I'm going to go do this thing. And you just give it to me when you don't have to worry about it. It's done.
That's smart networking marketing. That's smart business relationship.
Right.
Building.
I don't like to beat up people on price. Just like I don't like to get beat up on price. I like to show them the value of what I'm selling them, as opposed to price. Because you can take that all the way down to the toilet in price. And why are we here? We're here to make money. We're here to feed our family.
Yeah.
You're not going to gouge anybody. But by the same token, don't race to the bottom.
Yeah, price does become a factor with plastering systems. We'll get into that, but like ArmourTone systems, finishing systems where you're battling price point, how the wall looks, and paint and texture. So it does start becoming a factor, because we've been stuck with paint and texture for years and years and years, and we're now getting into these maybe new systems that are maybe more beautiful and also cost effective, because plaster's so extremely high, which is why it's a dying trade. Am I wrong? I mean,
right. Yeah.
So price does become a factor in that realm.
So we'll talk about ArmourTone when we get to it. But.
Yeah, but stucco. So you're generating relationships with these stucco companies.
Yeah. So I ended up with 75 employees. And,
Jesus.
And working in 3 and 4 states. And
cool. So you built El Presidio plastering.
Presidio plastering. Well, I built it up to 75 employees, and then I bought them out. I had an estimator, and her family was in construction.
Why aren't you retired right now, Danny? How come you don't you got a house on the hill? You got the house on the hill. He's driving a Lamborghini, which is weird. You can't carry much stucco in the Lambo.
So I did my bucket list backwards, Nick.
Okay.
All right. So as a young man, Let's dig in. This is where the podcast gets interesting. Okay, you've got a huge company, 75 employees. You buy your bros out. You're like, I'm going to take this to the moon. Then the economy crashes, or you get divorced or something. Well, all of it, all 3. I wasn't paid $1 million in 2010.
Okay.
Almost $1 million on three jobs. In completed work. Okay. It was completed work and was not paid $1 million.
This is the double-edged sword of large commercial contracts. You're not just. It's like the GC's not holding back a couple $100 of patches that you did. It's like
it's life changing.
Company's like, hey, sorry about that $500K. We're going bankrupt.
But before that, I had my pilot license. I was flying to all my jobs. Checking my jobs. I was going on vacation wherever I wanted to go.
You were flying to your own jobs.
had the motorcycle. Had the Porsche. Not a new Porsche, but I had the Porsche.
Can we please get for the sake of the podcast? Can we please get a picture or some video of you flying to a job in your airplane? Do you have any footage of that?
I don't know if I do or not.
Oh my God!
So, but
you might be the first certified pilot that we've had on the show.
I got like 550 hours.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So it's fun. So I flew to these jobs. So anyway, I did all this fun stuff, owned bars, and did all kinds of crazy stuff while I was contracting.
Sure.
Up, to the age of in my early 50s, and then, holy crap, I got to go to work for somebody because I'd lost $1 million. You take $1 million out of a company. I don't care. It's a $4 million company a year. You take $1 million out. So you
done. Had 3 companies that, for whatever reason, didn't pay. You didn't get paid, and you lost $1 million, and that just crippled you.
It crippled me. So I didn't file bankruptcy. I did the best to pay off everything I could, and people didn't hound me because I pay my bills for 30 years.
You're a good guy.
Well,
you're a good guy.
I don't know about that, but I paid my bills for 30 years. They had made money, so it kind of just went away. So I'm sitting there. I had to close it down, let everybody go, finish the jobs up, and sitting there looking out in my yard, and I got all this scaffold, all these pumps. I'm like, Jesus, this is what I do. So I start.
Danny has a moment of reflection after losing $1 million. I'm sitting here looking at my empire that's crumbled to the ground, and I'm thinking to myself, what am I gonna do?
So I said, okay, we'll do it again. Well,
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
One of the guys that took me for a bunch of money, he actually went to jail over it. But anyway,
good.
My girlfriend at the time walked into his office and said, this is going to sink our company. And he goes, Danny's a smart guy. He'll do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is kind of condescending, right? I mean, Jesus. But through all this, I never lost a night's sleep over it.
Is he still in jail? Is the guy still in jail?
No, he did 19 months. He was going to face 101 years, 19 months. He took... he took millions.
That is a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
You go sit in the can for 19 months, you're going to think about stuff a little bit. That's not nothing.
But he took millions out of the job.
Yeah.
So anyway, didn't lose any sleep over it. Here's why.
Okay.
I had young kids at the time. They didn't take my kids.
Right.
They didn't take,
I love it.
And they didn't take my health.
I love it.
And they took a bunch of equipment, and I lost some properties and stuff. But you know what?
They took your eye, though.
No, the eye was... No, that was gone when I was 19, being stupid. Working on a car, I lost my eye. Oh, yeah, you can land a plane with one eye.
Sure, of course you can. Of course you can. You had to.
I had to. So anyway. So I kind of did everything in reverse. So, I've had no regrets.
Interesting. So you're sitting there, you're staring out at you had a lot of equipment. You had a lot of money tied up in your tools and equipment and stuff for running this vast empire, which is what it is to somebody like me that has 1 employee, 2 employees. I mean, that just seems like a nightmare anyways. But you're running this giant corporation and it burns to the ground. Where does Danny go from there?
So I said, okay, this is what I know. I got this equipment, so I started up again. And got up to, 10, 12 employees. Things are going. I'm working with the guys every day.
Okay.
And changed my proposal.
What are you doing at that point?
Still stucco and plaster work and Venetian plaster, things like that.
All right.
But I changed my proposal so you pay me third up front, a third when I'm half done, and a third which is unheard of in commercial construction. You wait for your money. And
it's too bad that you had to cross the bridge the way you do. And it's too bad because they do that shit in residential as well. And it's like, why are we funding your project?
Exactly.
You got all the money.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
What am I, a bank?
You are.
And then when you get burned for $1 million, it's like, oh, that just happened. Sorry, Danny's smart. He'll figure it out. It's like, no. And I mean, you could take that to your next business proposal where you're asking for this payment schedule that makes much more sense. I got to pay for materials. I got to pay for my guys. And I'm just saying this because this pisses me off about our industry.
Right. I get it because there's a lot of shady contractors out there that are going to take the money, take that first third and run. Right? And I get that.
Sure.
But...
Yes.
Actually... I wrote a little book on how to hire a contractor.
Okay.
Just for that specific thing.
Really?
Only because homeowners getting raped by contractors.
Yeah.
I mean, literally getting raped.
And so I wrote contractors they'll give honest contractors a bad name, and this is what happens. This is why people don't want to pay contractors. But I think if there's an honest schedule where everybody's on the same page, thirds or halves, I get half up front. Worst you're going to do is lose half your money. And I get half at the end of the job when you're satisfied. Right. And that's for a small job. Jobs over a certain amount, I will do thirds. If it's over like $15K, we can do thirds or develop a payment schedule that works for everybody. But not, I do the job and then you pay me if you like the job. Fuck that. We're in a relationship.
That's the way it is in commercial. I mean, you bill every 30 days, but sometimes that pay doesn't come in for 60 or 90 days or... government, your retention,
the
last 10%, which is sometimes your profit.
Yeah.
You're waiting on that for up to a year. It's ridiculous.
All right. Well, we don't want to.
But anyway, so.
You wrote a book. What's the name of the book?
So it's called How to Hire a Contractor. It's 28 pages. But it's basically how to vet a contractor, how to make sure he's insured, how to pay them, right? You don't want to pay them 50% up front. Well, if you do that, give them a joint check. let him go pay for his materials. How to make sure everything's paid. How to get a house that's done properly without a lien on it, basically.
Where can I get a hold of this book?
I have some
copies?
Yeah, I have copies. It's only 28 pages.
Okay.
And I've sold some online as an ebook, but I'm actually doing an Audible on it right now. I have somebody rewriting it for an Audible to do an Audible book. Yeah. So I've been told it's got a lot of information in 28 pages. I like to keep it simple. I want somebody to learn something very quickly and be able to utilize it, right? So I sat at a Starbucks one Saturday and wrote it.
Okay.
In the morning.
Beautiful.
Just wrote it up, had it edited, printed it. But I've been told that if you make it 300 pages, you'll get rich. And I could make it 300 pages, but you know what? You don't need to. You don't need to make it 300 pages. That's
kind of a long shot. Did you hear my interview with Myron Ferguson, that drywall guy?
No, I didn't.
It's pretty good. He sold 500,000 copies.
Of
drywall. It's about drywall.
Wow.
It's the Drywall Handbook.
Okay.
By Myron Ferguson. Tottenham Press took it on, and he's all over, man. He sold 500,000 copies. They're still like selling books, but he didn't. You'd think that it's this big lucrative thing, but it's a very challenging route.
Right. I really did it not to make money, but just I hate seeing people getting taken advantage of like that.
It's cool. It's very interesting. So, so to our listeners, if somebody was interested in getting a copy of How to Hire a Contractor by Danny Carrillo, where would they go?
So, howtohireacontractor.com.
Okay.
So, try it there. I need to see if that's up. I haven't sold any in a while.
Yeah.
I did a few on Amazon. I wrote this book, I don't know, 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago.
If somebody was interested and they wanted a book and emailed me, would you send them a book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you email the Drywall Podcast info@frescoharmony.com, we'll get you a book. Sounds interesting. I'm definitely interested. I want to get a copy and read it now.
And this is stuff we all know as contractors because it's done to us on a continual basis.
Sure.
Check for insurance. They check our insurance. They only pay a certain amount. So basically, you're teaching a homeowner how to be a commercial owner and make sure the job's done right.
Yeah, you're teaching them how to be a GC, but not so douchey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nah, come on. There's some good GCs out there. Without GCs, Nick, we wouldn't have anything. So we need those guys.
Okay, different animal, those GCs. Okay, back to the story. Everything's burned down. You're looking at a fire sale, but you start building your business back up.
Yeah, so I start building up, and I'm going this 30%, 30%.
Okay.
And slow pay starts to happen again. Now I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to...
These guys will get you on the hook. That's the thing. They'll get you on the hook, and then it's like, oh, no, we got this work. They're good at it. That's their whole job, man.
So now I'm thinking, you know what? Now it's going to affect my health because I'm going to have a heart attack or I'm going to walk in somebody's office and grab them by the neck,
Right.
And so
I've seen videos, too, on YouTube where the contractor guy's beating the shit out of, like, the business owner, like, ripping him out of the truck and being like, I want my money.
It's our money. We worked for it. We already paid our material. We paid our guys.
That's right.
Pay us our money.
That's right.
So anyway, this, I heard Albert called me and said that he heard about a job at Graco, that they had a whole stucco and flooring pump division.
Okay.
Because I pump floors too. I got into that as well. Anything that pumps, basically, I've done.
You love that shit.
It's
so weird.
I want to make a video because I do a lot of videos on YouTube for pumps and stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to make one with spitting out $100 bills. I mean, you pay for these pumps in a couple days, and then you're making money with it.
Right.
Yeah, I paid for a $53,000 floor pump in 2 days, and made money on the job in addition to that.
Yeah.
So anyway, Graco has this position available as a sales guy, and so I go interview for it, right? Mm-hmm. And it worked out pretty good. I ended up starting in sales, and ended up being the business development manager for that division within a short time, and traveled the country and helped them grow the business. And
that's what it seems like. That's kind of like what you like to do.
Yeah, I like to help people make money.
Running a business, not so much, but being a higher up and doing sales and traveling around. That's your bag.
I like it. I like running a business too. Actually, I'm a stress junkie. I miss the stress of 75 guys, you got to be on 6 different jobs. How are you going to dole them out?
Okay.
I miss that.
All right.
I need stress. I need to keep busy, man. I get distracted too easy, and so I need to keep busy.
I like how when I deal with you in our business dealings, I like how on it you are. You're very like on top of it. That's like, to me, that's a sign of a really good business person. My web guy too, who handles my platform. Like, I don't have GoDaddy or anything. I've got this dude in like Minnesota or whatever. He's fantastic. Like, he's on it. And it's just I'm so appreciative when there's business owners like that take care of stuff quickly. Text back. You're a text backer. Some people are not text backers.
Well, just like your dad raised you, treat people like you want to be treated. Yeah. It's not rocket science,
Cool. So Graco, where do we go from there?
So I worked 5.5 years with Graco.
Okay. And how old are you at this point?
So I started
30?
No. I'm in my 50s.
Yeah, you've already built a company and burned it down.
Yeah, I'm at 55.
You spent a lot of time with Presidio.
10 years.
Okay.
And then I bought them out.
All right.
And did my own for 20.
Oh, okay.
That was called Mountain Shadows.
You were young.
I was 36 when I started on my own. 26 when I started with them. 36 when I started my own.
And it burned down at 40.
No, 50. Well, 50 something. 50 years old.
Okay.
At 50 years. Yeah.
Feels old to like start over.
You know what?
It's all relative.
I
get it, man. I'm 47. I'm like getting up there to where it's like, oh, age is weird. I don't understand it anymore.
I'm going to be the guy they're going to have to kick out at 80.
Okay. You got to get in that ice bath, buddy. I'll give you a few extra years.
I love work. I love working. I love building businesses and doing different things. So I'm working for them 5.5 years.
Okay.
My buddy Rob Knight, who created ArmourTone.
Rob Knight is also in the book.
Yeah, he's in Buck's book. Rob's a guru. He's actually he was the first stove distributor in the United States.
Yeah,
it was still in German. All the literature was still in German.
Yeah,
so he's been around.
He's been around.
So then he created. He saw me doing a Venetian product out of Arizona at Sandia Casino.
What product?
It's called Hopper Venetian Finishes.
What's funny about Hopper is that Hopper came up to Crested Butte when I was working in Crested Butte, and they did their plaster up there. And I was asking about the plaster, and my boss in Crested Butte was like, "Don't let Nick on the job because he's going to bug these guys." They were so secretive about everything.
Oh yeah,
and they were such dicks. And I was like, "Fuck that guy! I'm going to go start a color joint compound system."
Well,
but that was Hopper.
Yeah, Hopper, and they got spec'd on Sandia Casino with an architect out of Phoenix. Right?
Okay.
So through all the people I knew in Arizona and stuff, it was just a fit. So we joint ventured that job, and then he allowed me to buy his products to do stuff.
Shout out to Hopper Finishers for allowing Danny to buy your product.
But you know what? It was a great product, and they did good marketing.
All right.
And we went and did Abercrombie & Fitches around the country. Well, there's a lot of chains. Chain stores like that do the specialty finishes in the malls, right, in the outside and inside.
The Cheesecake Factory has beautiful plaster.
Yeah,
you've seen that, right?
Yeah.
It's like gorgeous in there. It's like, who the hell did this? It must have cost $100,000.
Yeah, and some Starbucks are doing it. They're starting to do more. So, but the Venetian plaster started really in the late 90s, early 2000s, and we happened to get in it at that time. So I think we were the first ones in Albuquerque to do it. But anyway, so Rob Knight came to me and he goes, "Man, I want to make a Venetian. What look am I looking for?" And I said, "Well, if you can get this basic look, I think you'll have it."
And wasn't Rob's kid working on it with him?
No, it was a guy named Micah Carroll. Who's just like a guru in mixing these formulas and getting them on the wall, making them look beautiful. And so he actually helped Rob develop it. And so Rob would bring me product when I was a contractor. I'd try it. Oh yeah, this is beautiful, So he created the whole variance line.
Yeah.
Then ArmourTone. And so when he had this, and he did a few things with it. He sold it and got it back, and So anyway, now he has this ArmourTone. So while I was working with Graco, I was selling pumps that spray it. So I was helping him on demos and stuff like that. I was there selling the pump, but he was there selling his product.
Okay.
Well, then
Rob
was.
Okay.
Rob was. So Rob's great at marketing and developing these products, but he's not a contractor. He's never actually done the work himself.
Right,
as a contractor.
Right, that's a detriment.
So it worked out perfect.
Just a detriment to him, but he had and Micah too.
And Micah, and then my brother Victor would come and help at demos and stuff. And we're just kind of, helping each other out. Well,
and Variants did very well.
Oh yeah,
their branding and marketing did good, and then Parex bought Variants.
They bought ArmourTone and Variants.
Okay.
And then they weren't pushing the ArmourTone.
So ArmourTone was alive and well during Variants.
Correct.
It was a different division. Okay. And you were like a research R&D person.
Well, I was a contractor, and he'd bring stuff to me to try out. And I'd say, well, it does this and it does that, but it needs to do this. And then they go tweak it. And so I just had, Mike was real good at applying as well, but he just wanted somebody else to try it just to see, how it worked on all the stuff I was working with. Yeah. And by then I was doing clay plasters and Venetian plasters. And
did you ever work with the American clay?
I have. Yeah, and
what's your take on that stuff?
Beautiful product, very natural.
Yeah,
absorbs odors and feels very earthy.
That's weird because I've heard like contractors say that they put it in their house and it stinks. Like their house has a musty smell.
It smells like dirt. It is dirt.
Okay,
but I kind of like that.
Shout out to American Clay if you want your house to smell like dirt.
No, but it's not. It's an earthy smell. It is an earthy smell.
Yeah,
but I like that.
Yeah,
you walk into.
I've heard people say, well, durability is a factor, but people can debate durability all day long. But they like putting it on. They like the way it goes on. Like pro applicators like the way it floats out.
Well, and if you're susceptible to VOCs or chemicals and stuff like that, it's a great alternative, right? Because it's all natural. It's clay.
Okay.
And so
don't they have to use binders and shit though in there?
I don't think they do. It's a very soft product.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know the stuff I used to use came from Amsterdam, I think.
Could you run the sealer over the top of
you can
American Clay?
Yeah, but then you lose all the earthiness of it. It still looks the same, and I've done
hopefully that eye roll does not translate to audio.
So it's a neat product. It has its place. It is very soft, but it patches easy. And they've done well.
And I like the Drywall Podcast, we try to be open. We try to be open about ideas, new ideas, and things like that. So you'll pardon my natural drywall instinct is to resist any and all new ideas that come at me. I like how open you are about like these different systems. It's very cool. And we'll get into like these new ArmourTone systems that you're like working on and developing. Good segue. But you were a quintessential professional, and then what Rob Knight was bringing to you was like all of these cool new finishes that you got to vet, so to speak. So that just really bolstered your ability to use these different products, right, and be an expert.
And they're neat. The products are neat, and you can make more money on them.
Yeah.
People pay a lot of money for interior plaster.
The right people.
And we've done a lot of diamond finish, which is gypsum plaster that you smooth out so much. We have a thing that flies can't land on it. It's so smooth. It's beautiful. And it's neat stuff. So we've done that, and we've done the molding plaster, basically anything in the plaster.
What's molding plaster?
Molding plaster. Have you been to the Lensic Theater?
Yes.
So they had a drop ceiling in there when they remodeled it.
Okay.
Pulled it out, and they had this beautiful ceiling in there that had gold leaf painting, and it was all molded plaster.
Okay.
Right? Beautiful. And so about 25 or 30% of it was gone. So we made molds and replicated it and got it back up to its original. And then painters from Chicago came out and hand gold leaf painted it.
Cool.
And it's cool. It's a neat job.
That's like traditional fresco, where the paint then sort of seeps in. Do you know Federico Vigil?
I do not.
He did the Torleone in actual fresco.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Have you seen the interior of the
so
Torleone?
They did it over wet plaster?
Yeah, lime.
Wow.
Took him like 4 years. When I moved to Albuquerque, that was part of my inspiration. the girl that I was seeing at the time took me to the torreon, and a torreon is, I don't know, it's a Spanish word for a large, round, cylindrical building that's like used to be out front of a pueblo or something where they like guard the pueblo. But it's a round building, conical, and it goes up and it has a ceiling, probably 2-story, with little, places where you can shoot out and protect your building or something. This dude, Frederico Vigil in Albuquerque, New Mexico, he has also true frescoes up in Santa Fe in like the museum and stuff. He's a big fresco artist guy. He did the entire interior.
Wow.
In
where
traditional fresco, the Spanish Cultural Center.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's
I've been
done.
in there.
I went in there.
We just redid a bunch of that diamond plaster.
Because it looked like shit. You probably had to redo
No, they had a roof leak.
Yeah, but if you noticed, you can see all of the brake lines. I didn't like the way it looked.
Well, now it's got ArmourTone on it, and it looks a lot better. Go check it out.
Okay.
The whole big dome hallway, or the arched
Yeah,
hallway.
I didn't like the plaster. I don't like it when you can see all the brake lines. I just think it's stupid.
And that's just application.
That's application.
We know how to not do that.
Yeah, but the Torleone, it's an entire. I saw him when he was doing it, and I went in, and he was walking out, and he took me in and like gave me told me all about it, and it was all he had all of the images outlined in charcoal, and then he was doing like regular and he had like full respirator because of the lime, and he was using crushed up liquid pigments and stuff, and he painted the entire interior.
I'm gonna have to go check that out. That sends chills down my spine.
Yeah,
it's
fat. It's like Sistine Chapel shit. It took him like 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and that inspired me That inspired me to move to Albuquerque. I was like, I gotta fucking come here, because I just started doing fresco. Variants, that was 20 years ago. Variants was just coming out.
Right.
American Clay was just coming out. I had no idea about these products.
Yeah, so this is a plaster mecca just because of all the interior stuff up in Santa Fe and Taos, and it's pretty neat. It's a neat place to be a contractor because you get to do so many different things. You're going to do a casino with eaves on the outside and Venetian on the inside, and then you're going to go do a hospital with just eaves, and then you're going to go do an Adobe clubhouse that's 4,000 yards of stucco outside of an Adobe. Then you're going to do a straw bale house. Right. And then you're going to go up to Taos and put plaster on tires for the earth ships. And do interior and exterior. So it's a neat place to be a contractor because there's so many different realms of plaster. And then I was fortunate enough to try it all and become good at it. So, I could be the guy, hey, we're doing this crazy, you ever done this crazy thing? Oh yeah, we did this here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat. I miss the plastering part of it, man. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. When you get more into sales and marketing a product, you start to get out of like the application. I like actually going and doing a wall or a room, like doing it, and just fuck life for a week. I'm gonna go in and like just work. I miss that. I really do. Do you miss that?
I do.
Yeah.
I do, yeah. But I like the training aspect too. Actually, right before I got a job with Graco, Rob used to call me about once a year. Hey, I got this job, so-and-so, I need to send somebody to train. So I'd send one of my plasterers. He'd pay him and they'd go do it. Rio, Hawaii, go show him how to do variants, right?
Okay.
And so he got this job in Kampala, Uganda. 4 or 5 6-story concrete buildings inside and out.
Okay.
He calls me up and he goes, hey, I need one of your guys to go to Uganda.
Yeah, or 10.
And I says, well, you're talking to him.
You wanted to go to Uganda?
I went to Uganda.
Cool.
And I trained 20 people how to apply plaster inside and outside, all variants finishes.
So cool.
The trip of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Just hard workers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so you're hanging out with these dudes in Uganda, like, doing plaster.
Yeah, it was neat. So we got all the exterior done in 2 weeks and trained them on the interior.
Beautiful.
It was crazy. It was every day. We took 1 day off in the whole 2 weeks, but it was neat. And, made some friends that I still talk to, monthly on WhatsApp. And this was,
cool.
7-8 years ago.
So cool. And so fast forward, some sort of division happens between Parex, Variants. Rob ends up getting ArmourTone Finishes, and that's when he brings you in as a full-time partner?
No, so he brings. I'm helping him out with the spraying and stuff, doing his demos here and there. Selling pumps at the same time, right? Because I'm still working for Graco. And then
and you
Graco.
Still work for Graco?
No, well, Graco. I was an employee of theirs, business development manager nationwide. They moved me and my pumps to a new division, and I ended up with a boss that wanted to know how many grains of rice I had on my dinner plate. So I lasted about 6 months.
Yeah.
And I'm a grown man. I know how to do my job. You're not going to catch me slacking off. You're not going to catch me cheating on my expense report. I do my job, and I feel like I do it well.
And if you don't trust this person to do your job, then you shouldn't have them around.
Hire good people and get out of their way.
Yeah.
If you want to make money.
Yeah.
Right? And the boss I had before that, he was fantastic. A guy named John Manning. He was great. He just let me go.
Okay.
He'd slap me around a little bit when I got out of my lane a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was never condescending. It was like, hey, Danny, kind of, it's a big corporation. We do it this way.
Yeah.
I know you used to run your own deal, but here's how we do it. So it was all good. So I got sideways with Graco. So I said, Rob, what are you going to do with this business?
You called Rob?
I said, what are you going to do with this business?
Wait, which business?
This ArmourTone, because he's doing it by himself, right?
Okay.
Working out of his house, and I said,
in the history there, he split up. I don't know all of the
Parex
details.
bought ArmourTone and Variants,
and then he got
ArmourTone back.
Okay.
And so, Rob, what are you going to do with this? And he goes, well, I'm going to get some investors and make this thing grow, get it going again.
And at that point, Rob just likes being in the game.
Right. Yeah, he's been in it forever. So
he was like, boy, he sold he did well, right?
Yeah,
Selling
he did really
Variants.
well. Yeah, his house is beautiful inside and out.
Yeah, and so, but I mean, it's like, just retire, dude, and go play golf or something. But he was like, this is like kind of like it gets into your blood. And you want to like just keep doing it. It's weird.
So basically, he says, I'm going to get an investor. And I said, well, what's that investor going to do? Well, he's going to give me money, and I'm going to pay him back. So what if you had an investor that owned half the company and knows how to put it on the wall?
Yeah.
So I bought half of ArmourTone.
Okay.
Went all in, took everything I had.
Really?
Just put it on the table.
I love that, Danny.
All in at 62 years old.
I like that.
Right? I mean, everything.
Why?
Because I believe in it.
Okay.
Right?
But specifically, it's not just like I believe in a product. What about ArmourTone had Danny Carrillo at 61 say, I'm going all in on this product?
I just felt the growth is untapped, what it could be.
What growth? What are we
talking about? The growth of
about?
Selling the product nationwide, worldwide. I just think that it's a great product that saves people money, gives them a better end product.
Okay, let's talk about it. How does ArmourTone, why is it so great?
So ArmourTone, our go-to product, in my opinion, I mean, we have several products. We have troweled products, inside and outside, the shiny stuff. We have all the pretty stuff as well.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
The blue, you've got Fresco Harmony blue up there, which I really like.
In ArmourTone. But, that stuff's pretty cool. It's beautiful. But it's 3 pails here, 5 pails there, some accent walls in a commercial building. Okay, so nobody's going to do it in their whole house.
You have the challenges of selling the particular products, the same plaster challenges that you would have with like Variants or any plaster product.
Right.
I'm talking specifically about what had you excited, like it seems like the spray applications, the volume applications of some of your ArmourTone products, that's kind of where I'm like, you've got some stuff that's pretty impressive. That like you can go over existing surfaces, you can, 2-coat. Like, let's talk about that a little bit.
So basically, that's the product that gets me out of bed, right?
Yeah.
Because it's semi-loads going out, not 5 pails here.
Right.
Because it's every wall in the building. We do retirement homes, hospitals, Facebooks.
You've got the built-in network of Rob Knight, who, he just knows everybody, and
my own and my brothers,
and yours and your brothers, yeah. Right? So you've got you're established in this industry.
Yeah, we're established in the Western, becoming nationwide because I've traveled so much, but we're established in this area. for plaster and things of that nature. So we have a product called ArmourFill, and basically what it is, it's a level 5 product, which typical level 5 drywall is a smooth drywall. You have to tape to level 4, which is taping out much wider than normal, many passes on the screws, and then you have to skim the entire wall out with drywall mud. Well, now you got to sand it. And you can either sand it with pneumatic sanders, electric sanders, or by hand. And it's very labor intensive, but it comes out smooth drywall.
Okay.
So now what we do is we take it to level 4.
Okay.
Mop the walls down, get the dust off.
You're talking drywallers, so they're going to.
We're talking drywall,
so they're going to know what you're talking about.
Right. We're getting to a level 5 with spray application.
Okay.
Okay. So you spray the first coat on.
Okay. So wait, you take the wall to level 4. No sand or sand?
You have to sand to get the joints, but you're not skimming and sanding the whole wall.
Okay.
So you're sanding to get to level 4, and you want a good level 4.
Yep.
But we're going to give an opportunity to fix that if you don't. So you spray the first coat, let it dry, and then you go back. Is that
a little bit bumpy on that first coat?
It's
something to sit on? Something for the second coat to sit on?
No, not really. It self-levels on the wall, but it's basically the same texture as if you were to spray and back roll paint with a real tight roller.
Okay.
Okay, that's the texture.
All right.
So it's not like a smooth plaster shiny.
Fine stipple.
It's not, very fine. I've never had it rejected as a level 5.
Okay.
So we're going to spray the first coat, let it dry, and then we're going to take the same material and we're going to patch anything that needs to be patched. We used to do it with drywall mud, but then you see it on the second coat.
Okay.
And the reason I'm worried about seeing it is because we can tint this product.
Okay.
So it can be used as a finished product and or a base for paint.
And would you do another coat over the top?
Yeah, so after we patch, then we do another coat, a finish coat on it.
Okay.
And so we're 2 coats, but you're spraying it 4,000 feet an hour per coat. So the material's more expensive.
I love the volume application.
Yeah, the material's more expensive than drywall mud, right?
Okay.
But the production's so intense that you surpass that. So you save 10 to 15 cents a foot, sometimes up to 20 cents a foot over the traditional method.
Okay.
But
you still have the cost of material, but
it wipes out because of the cost of labor.
What's the second coat look like as far as application?
It did look just like the first coat.
No, I mean putting it on. What's
spray
the process?
We spray that also with an airless.
This is
for a level 5.
Do you spray it and trowel it off?
That's another application.
Okay.
So this is for level 5, for your typical level 5.
Okay.
And then if you tint it, now you're putting another buck in your pocket because you just eliminated the painter.
Right.
And if you're a drywaller and the painter, you're making a lot more money. And then you can't scratch it with a nail or a quarter. It's an epoxy acrylic. So a regular level 5. It's weak. It's drywall mud.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Without a sealer or anything, without paint on. So now this is a hard product, and it's epoxy acrylic.
Okay.
So there's virtually no patching at the end of the job. You just wipe it off with a rag.
Explain that to me, epoxy acrylic. When I think epoxy, I think like 2-part. But epoxy acrylic, I assume, is it a 2-part?
No, it's a single part, but it's a water-based epoxy. So it just has epoxy characteristics as it dries on the wall.
Okay. Very hard.
Very hard.
But I think you've shown me the potential of patching is real patchable.
Right. It's patchable. Very you just change the tip size and whatnot.
And again, too, when you get into patching, people are like, "Oh, how patchable is your product?" Well, anytime you start dealing with a multicolored product, it's going to become more difficult to patch. And you'll agree with me. It's like, everybody touts their product as patchable, but the more monotone, this is my experience, the more monotone a finish is, the easier it will be to patch, and also lighter color.
Right, yeah, the darker colors are a little tougher, but the lighter colors, you can blend them in.
But if I had a hole in the middle of my wall and I want to reskim a wall, I can reskim it, seems like fairly efficiently with this product.
Oh yeah, or respray it.
Respray it.
Yeah, you can respray it, no problem.
Okay.
So, but then we've developed, since I'm a plasterer, right, I'm not going to just spray this goop.
Yeah.
I want to trowel it too.
Sure.
So what I did is we came up with you spray the first coat and trowel the second coat just with a wipe on, wipe off like a Venetian.
Yeah.
And it looks like a diamond finish.
Sure. Do you have an example of that back here?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. So if you look at
I like the matte feel to it as well.
But it's smooth. It's smooth. It has a little bit of variance to it.
Love it.
So
so
it's like a diamond
too, people people will look at the Fresco Harmony samples. Sometimes they'll be like, there's not enough going on. But what I've found is less is more. You know what I mean?
Right.
You get the busy plasters. Sometimes it's like too much. This has like just enough. If you did a room in this, and I love the matte feel, that this would be really comfortable room to be in. You know?
Right. And you're putting it up for $150 a foot. And if you're a drywaller or a plaster, you can sell that for $5 to $8 a foot. I've seen it go for. So
okay.
So now we have products. You know, they're more expensive than drywall mud, but there's an opportunity to make money.
Okay.
And make it quickly because it goes so fast. So we're just kind of blending drywall applications and plaster applications.
Yep.
And that's what we're all about.
So, I love it.
So we're giving plaster over drywall that's durable.
Yeah. And it's a new system. You know, you, much like me, are trying to create some diversity and interest in a static space where it's like, man, dude, enough with the texture and paint already. And for what painters are getting nowadays, it's like, why aren't drywallers getting a cut of that? You know,
right.
that's my like, you know, why are you leaving all that cheddar on the table, man?
Well,
you know, just because of stubbornness, like. There's these new systems that are emerging now where the drywall guy can double, triple their profit margin and stay on the job a short amount of time longer. You know?
Still basically doing the same stuff.
Same stuff.
They're
same
just
materials.
A different application, yeah.
Yeah, so. With yours, they probably have to, but a lot of drywall guys know how to use spray.
Yeah, they're spraying their texture on anyway. Same thing, Mark V, Graco Mark V.
There you go.
Sprays this stuff, sprays your texture.
Okay.
Same pump.
See, there's the pitch. So, I mean, that's
yeah.
like, that's a no-brainer.
And then you can splatter it. So you could do a splatter knockdown. You can trowel the second one, give it some texture. Or you can do an orange peel. So you can do any of the drywall finishes with this product, but it can be tinted any color.
Okay.
And it's durable.
And you guys have a color line currently. You've got like a color deck or a swatch. If somebody was interested,
there's our color chart.
That's the color chart. Okay, so like 40, around 40.
Yeah.
And they can see, people can get idea of those colors on a website.
Yeah, I think that chart's on the website.
Okay.
But
and what's the website?
ArmourTone, ARMOUR, tone, one word, .com.
And you have that domain.
Yes.
Good. Very cool. And you're distributed throughout the United States now.
Yeah, we're doing quite a bit up in Canada. We're doing some in Toronto right now. We're going to go do a demo in Calgary.
Canadians are assholes.
Why?
No, I'm joking.
Love Canadians, man. They're awesome. They invite you in their house.
Yeah. I think the last 6 episodes of the Drywall Podcast have been Canadians. So
the only problem
we love the Canadians.
The only problem with Canadians, they'll hurt your liver.
They'll hurt your liver. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They like to have it.
Well,
they like
cold.
To have fun.
It's cold up there. It's cold up there, so they got to have more. They got to have more alcohol to keep them warm.
But great people work. Yeah. They work hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's a neat. I love going to Canada.
And it's beautiful up there too.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah. It's cold. I've been to Edmonton.
Yeah.
When it was 30, 40 below.
Yeah, I went up to Toronto last year. CSR had their new opening in Barrie, and it just snowed.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh yeah, it does this every day up here. And I was like, God damn, it's cold. Am I going to be able to fly out tomorrow?
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
You pull into a restaurant or bar and every vehicle out there is running.
Yeah.
Right? Because they can't turn them off.
Danny Carrillo, ArmourTone Finishes, author, college graduate. Yeah? Did you get your degree?
I did.
Kind of?
Bachelor of Science.
Bachelor of Science. Business owner, pilot. Wow. Pretty cool.
I've been blessed.
Yeah.
I really have.
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid to try anything. So, you can.
A couple of questions. One I've been asking recently, and you don't do a lot of application, but something recently that has occurred to you or happened to you that has changed the way you do business or application, like with the drywallers, because they're stubborn. I'm like, what have you done recently where you've changed your system a little bit and you never thought that this would work, but you've known about it for a long time and you finally tried this thing that's new and it just changed the way you do it, and it's way better, and it opened up your mind.
Well, it's how to apply it and how to patch in between, how to go fast, basically. Well, just a little simple nuance of how to patch in between the coats.
Okay.
We used to patch with drywall mud.
Okay.
And then that always leaves a little edge that you'll see, so I would have to go sand it and mop the wall again.
Okay.
And then it could still possibly flash if it's a color, a dark color.
So this was a hurdle in your R&D that was tough to get over.
So I says, why not just take the same material and patch with that? There's no aggregate. It feathers to zero.
Okay.
So I patch, and you can see the patches, but we're going to put another coat on it.
Okay.
And then another thing too is guys wanted washable walls. So we had an acrylic epoxy.
Yeah.
So let's throw our clear epoxy sealer over it.
Okay.
Now we have washable walls that suffice for FRP. And I don't know if you know how much FRP is, but it is expensive. To buy and to hang for kitchens and swimming pools and veterinary clinics, things like that. It's expensive.
All right.
So now you're looking at it looks like a painted wall with a clear sealer on it, but you wash it with a hose.
Okay.
And so we figured that out.
That's cool.
So we're helping contractors, and owners, give them something that looks cool, but still performs.
Okay.
And we're always changing. We're coming up with new things, adding new things to the products because we want to make it friendly for the contractor, beautiful for the owner, and let's all make some money.
Love it. And a pearl of wisdom. I ask everybody for a pearl of wisdom that you could bestow on the drywall community or the drywall plaster community as a whole.
Well, just in general, if you do what you say you're going to do, show up on time, call if you're not going to be there, price is not an issue.
Okay.
Because you're already leaps and bounds above the general contractor population.
And try to get a third up front.
Try to get a third up front. Yeah, because you don't want to.
Because you don't want to be 10 years into your business and maybe they just withhold $1 million from you. You do not want to be in that boat.
It sucks when you can't fly airplanes anymore.
That would suck.
Because it's an expensive. You have to have a business that has some volume in it to be able to fly airplanes. Because it's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
Just to get your pilot's license and fly around a bit is expensive.
That was cheap. They had a deal here at the community college when I got it when I was 40.
Okay, but to fly, you're talking about like renting a plane, flying from A to B,
or buying, renting or buying.
Did you buy a plane?
No, I just rented.
You just rented,
but it was $210 an hour. Was
it less expensive to rent a plane and fly it to San Antonio than to just take a commercial?
So if you put 4 people, it's cheaper, but people won't fly with me.
No.
I only got one eye.
No.
I'm not getting an airplane with you.
I'd fly with you, buddy. Let's do it. I'd take a little buzz around Albuquerque.
So,
that'd be cool.
I've taken some people, but in general, people are like, nah, I think I'll stay. Cool. You go fly.
This has been a fantastic conversation.
Good.
Cool.
I enjoy watching your podcast as well as...
Oh, yeah. Which episodes have you listened to?
I've listened to a handful of them.
Handful?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll recommend a couple. The one with Buck Buchanan's interesting. You would enjoy the Myron Ferguson one, and then the Kevin Bush. Yeah. You'd like those.
Well, I'm on the road nationwide driving.
Yeah.
So I'm going to Florida at the end of this week.
Yeah.
So I'll just start at the beginning and start listening to them.
Yeah, even the ones in the beginning are pretty cool. I mean, they're a lot of fun. So yeah. Very, very nice talking with you.
It's great. What you do for the industry is fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Shout out to Danny Carrillo for being with us on the Drywall Podcast today. What a great conversation. Thank you so much. And looking forward to seeing where your company is in the future. Special thanks to Can-Am Tools for sponsoring the Drywall Podcast in the month of November. Can-Am Tools is celebrating 50 years of experience in their innovative semi-automatic tool system. Can-Am Tools has a comprehensive range of high-quality drywall tools for both professionals and enthusiasts. Head over to www.canamtool.com for more information. and special promotions there. Guests of the Drywall Podcast will receive a sweet swag bucket from CSR just for being on the podcast. Shout out to CSR for that. Thank you so much for listening to the Drywall Podcast today. Tune in next Friday as we have Adam Luce of AAA Drywall out of Minneapolis, Minnesota on the podcast. Until then, I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. And remember, keep drywalling.